Hey guys, 7 Today we're going to be reacting to the Helldivers 2 x Warhammer 40,000 Legendary Warbond. So let's get to it. So they went with Cadians, but they really went with I mean, when you're thinking about the average guardsman, you're thinking of the Cadians. Um, so I guess it makes sense. Mm. I can't say I know the blue one. I think I saw something recently about it on Reddit, but like I can't really say I know what the blue one's from. But let's keep going. By the way, the armor for both of them, unless they do something different, it should be this way. So the armor for both of them is you have more armor rating and you have better reload speed for your support weapons. So things like the recoilless rifle, any form of like the HMG, even I guess all of them really, but like the ones that are stationary are really gonna feel it the most. And so like any form of a support weapon is gonna get a better reload. I'm not really sure how much it's going to affect the reload on something like the railgun, but I imagine it'll be similar to how it is on a siege ready for the what is it called? It's for I think it's like Urban Legends or something, or Urban Warfare or whatever. That specific war bond, it's like kind of gray. Um, they got like a shock stance, a stun lance in the frame. Um, that one has a pretty decent reload speed, and so like if we look at like in comparison to that, it should be pretty good. I'm a bit worried about this as they aren't shooting. Let me just show you. Right, they're shooting voteless. Right, like we don't have much to go off of on any of this stuff right here. We know that we see a pretty long zoom scope, so we could probably assume that it's more than likely going to be a 10 times. I just don't see them doing a 4 times with something that's supposed to be a marksman rifle. Um, we don't have a sniper, but this is probably the closest we're gonna get to a laser marksman rifle. What I am Like, they're shooting voteless, and that kinda irritates me a little bit because 'cause I'm just like, "Why are you shooting voteless?" If you want to show the players it's so that they could trust that what the weapons aren't gonna be, like, light pin like, everywhere I went before they even started releasing any information on the war bond, everyone's like, I can't wait for, my light pin bolter. I can't wait for everything to be light pin because that's what they were doing, and so it's like, you go to Warhammer 40K, you'll understand that like listen, the most of the weapons inside of Warhammer are stronger than what you see in Helldivers. So if you're gonna give a 1-to-1, at least to some degree, it better at least be medium to heavy pin. Just in general, it better be those things because the reality of the situation is no one wants another legendary war bond that feels like it's just super weak and trash because no one's gonna use it. The only reason I even use the SOCOM and the SMG, number one, is because it comes inside the ODST Warbond is because they have silencers. If they didn't have silencers, I would not use them. I'm just gonna be real with you. I do not care for light pin whatsoever. And even when I use them, like I can't customize these weapons whatsoever, and they don't work how they would have inside of the actual Halo games, Halo ODST games. So it's like a double whammy on stuff that I have issues with. But the only reason I use them is because they're suppressed. There's something to use in that very idea. Now it does. I think we see a later scene down the road where it cleaves through like 3 voteless. So I am happy about that because it tells me that there's some penetration. If you were to use a light gun, a light pin gun, there's a good chance that the bullet would stop in the first one. Now they're unarmored, yes, but it's usually not going to go further. Now medium pin has an easier chance to do that, but light pin it's kind of like firing a hollow point round. It might go through, but it's not going to go through much. And so we see something there. I think they're both medium armor, but I'm also getting the impression that they might be that second one because of how bulky it looks, and the other one being a scout armor, if you will. I get the impression that both of these might be medium to heavy. I have some ideas of that. So the bolt pistol, legitimately, we have like two gyrojet pistols already. One came from the entrenched Warbond, that one's medium pin, and the other one's comes from the other one comes from what is it called? It's the one that's supposed to be the police. That war bond. Um, the warrant's actually a good pistol. It's just kind of like I wouldn't be taking it for anything other than Illuminate because of those the flying drones are just really good to take out. But like anything else, really, I don't. I'm not gonna say it's a bad weapon. Like you could take other weapons in, and you could, and you can do a decent job. And the warrant can do a decent job. It's just that I find myself when I'm using the warrant, like I'm thinking to myself, like I don't really need it. There are other better options, and like again, I'll use the SOCOM because it's suppressed if I'm using a loud weapon, just so I can take out something silently in case I'm in a situation where I don't want to be fighting too many things at one time, right? So recently, that's kind of something I've been doing. But like you know, I'm kind of expecting because this is like the greatest version of what a gyrojet pistol should be. I'm expecting this to be heavy pin. Again, I think they show us they're over here shooting things that light pin can easily destroy. I don't know why. I really do not like the fact that they do that. I do expect the bolt pistol to at least be medium pin, but with the rate of fire that he's firing at, and he could just be pacing himself. I'm thinking specifically about Dark Tide. You can fire a bit faster, but for the most part, like you're gonna be a bit slow because of how heavy the chunking from the initial round is. Or the recoil, I mean comes from that. So there's something about that. But I do think we might be seeing some heavy pin with this one. It's just really slow and it seems really powerful. Now there's also a possibility they go the route of that the Stoker, which is like an SMG with the flamethrower. That thing has a slower rate of fire, but it hits like 130 damage. It's still weaker than the Reprimand, but it still does like 130 damage. It feels like a DMR in some ways. So they could go the route of doing a sort of a Stoker type build where it just does more damage. But I get the impression with the explosion size that we're seeing that we might actually be seeing something that's similar to the Eruptor in the sense that it does heavy pin, has a decent size explosion. Of course, we're not seeing anything like we're not seeing shrapnel, but we're going to probably see some kind of not thermite. What's the word I'm looking for? I'm thinking specifically of the fact that of Destiny's well, I think it's called a thermite grenade, but I'm thinking specifically of that where it's like there's not shrapnel, but it just does a decent explosion that hits whatever it's you're targeting. I guess similar to like how an RPG when it hits a target, the explosion itself is there, but there's no shrapnel besides maybe whatever it hits, like the point that it actually hits on. So I'm thinking that's what we're getting here. I was listening to some guys talk, and I think that it's acting like an actual anti-tank mine you might have seen in World War I. World War One? I think World War I. Like an actual anti-tank mine you might have seen in World War I or World War II, where it's not gonna easily trigger on like light steps from you, but if you're in a vehicle or something, it might do it. Only reason I say that is these bots have already passed it, and the only one that's gonna trigger it is this big guy in the back. However, I am actually quite happy about the fact that it is a anti-tank thing. Now, I think what we're probably going to get is probably something around anti-tank in general. Um, anti-tank in general. I think like we might get like two mines at best. I don't think they're going to give us more than that. Now, we did have the lure mine, which I believe is like three of them, but something like this focused on actually one-shotting something of a tank level threat, I actually think it's only going to be maybe two. I doubt they'll only give us one. There are ways to get more than one or two, but I think it's going to be at least two. I didn't expect to get the melta gun. I was thinking maybe get like a plasma gun or something, but they actually gave us a melta gun. Um, So there are kind of different versions of the melt-a-gun. One's a shotgun, one's a beam. This one specifically is going to be a beam. I'm not mad about it. At the end of the day, it's not really clear if you look up the lore of a melt-a-gun, what exactly is it. Um, like they got melta grenades, and in theory, they could just straight up thermite. They could straight up just burn a whole area. But then, like you got situations where you see like melted guns where all they do is they don't actually pierce like that much. Like it depends on the story. Like they're in theory they're supposed to do a great job, but in the same time, it's kind of similar to the las gun, where depending on who's writing the story, the las gun can hit like a nuclear bomb, and in some other cases, it's hitting like you're shooting someone with a BB gun. Like it just really depends on who's writing the story, and so let's see what we're seeing here. So already we saw a little bit of a charge up. It seems to have destroyed the tank pretty fast. Now I'm not really complaining about it having a charge up. I think that's fine. As far as like how long did it take to do it, I think they've probably sped it a little bit, sped it up a little bit. At the same time, I might be half of the time that a thermite takes out a target because in theory, thermites take maybe 5 to 6 seconds, might be a little bit more to blow up a tank or a Hulk, but like you can kind of tell that it's killing it pretty fast. And so in theory, um, the not Hellwhelm, the Melta gun is killing pretty fast, really, really fast. Um, I think one thing they got to do a better job on is stop giving us patterns for our gear, and the only thing you're doing is giving it a slightly different paint job. If they put some vinyls on it, like the old World War II planes and ships and stuff, where they had like a mouth of fire, a mouth on fire, or like a shark's teeth, or like a woman on the side. If they started doing stuff like that, I think things would be better. Right? We don't really have anything more than like some different colors, and it really just doesn't look good enough to warrant being part of the Warbond. Um, in general, I don't really think anyone really likes those. So it drops 3 of them. This is why I think there's a possibility it's at least medium pin. However, a las gun is supposed to hit like a 50 cal. So I'm really not sure about that. But I'm expecting I don't expect it to be like a regular las weapon where it like regenerates ammo over time, but there's a possibility that it will, on the basis of the fact that if you're standing beside fire, uh, in lore, the battery packs will charge on their own. So in theory, they might go that logic of that, but they probably can't code it well enough to be able to do that. And so what we'll probably end up getting is it actually regenerates over time, and you have to watch how much you're firing at one time. I'm expecting to see that. I'd also kind of like I don't know if this is going to work this way, but if I'm not mistaken, inside of the Warhammer 40K hired gun, they had a long las in that one, and if I'm not mistaken, you had the ability to charge shot. Now this says hot shot, but I got the impression that it might be somewhat similar to that in some ways. I could be wrong on that. I could be wrong on that. But like I'm wondering if they went the route of the long las where you have the ability to charge it. If so, I would like the ability to be able to like switch from like let's say DMR mode to like charge rifle shot mode. I'd like to see what that looks like. It doesn't have to be like railgun damage, but it could at least be like especially if it's medium pin on the DMR mode, it could be similar to like DMR modes into heavy pin mode. And so it's like you start to like you're charging the rifle, and to get to like a heavy pin from medium pin, you got to get to near the highest point before you fire. And so we could have something like that. I think that would be really cool. They said something also inside of the description for the rifle that it's deadly up close and it's even deadlier at long range. So I'm getting the impression that there's a possibility that it does more damage the further it goes out. But I also think that's kind of stupid because of the way that they've designed this game as a whole. I don't actually think they do something like that. It would have to, in some form of way, gain mass or gain power as it's flying through the air, and the odds are high. Not fat shark. Arrowhead's not going to want to do something like that. It's a little too gamey in that way, or too magicy in that way for them. So it's kind of something I feel like they wouldn't do because of that basis. But at the same time, it's a possibility. Now they did that with 2 melta guns, and they did it pretty fast. Of course, we don't know how much they were shooting it ahead of time. Odds are someone was firing something at it, but they destroyed it pretty fast. I don't think that thing has a gun up top. Usually, you can see like something broken up top to some degree. I don't think it has a gun up top. Um, but the point is that like they fired 2 of them at the middle point, probably at the same location, and were able to burn the both doors at the same time, doing true damage to the factory strider. So in theory, it burns pretty fast as long as 2 people are shooting at it. It'll burn faster than usual, which is fine. It makes a lot of sense to some degree to the idea of team play. How will this shake the meta? I don't think it's gonna change much. Quasar is still the goat when it comes to stealth because at the end of the day, you got infinite ammo. RR is really strong for like having the ability to reload or recharge your weapon pretty fast. Like basically, you reload faster than the Quasar can recharge or cooldown, and so like RR is still going to be used. The spear is probably still going to be used, not as much as RR, but still more used than everything else. At the end of the day, we got a lot of anti-tank targets that need explosives to take them out, and so I kind of see that going well for the both RR and Quasar and all that. Um, when it comes to the machine guns, I don't think the Melta gun's gonna completely take it, but I also let me rephrase that. I don't think it's gonna be overshadowed by the machine guns whatsoever. I think that the machine guns they have a place in situations where you don't have a lot of anti-tank. So we're thinking strictly illuminate. Like they have like heavy pin, and medium to heavy pin enemies, but they don't have anti-tank. And so, probably the machine guns are going to be better suited for them. You might be thinking, what about bugs? And the point that I'd make is that bugs are cool and all, but when it comes down to it, when you have something like a support weapon, the odds are high you're going to want to take out the anti-tank target because of how dangerous they're going to be. You may be saying like, "Well, I can bring orbitals and stratagems," but a lot of times, like, right, you have like a big old cooldown, you got to wait and stuff like that, and that's where the support weapon comes in. Now, if you're going to do something like the machine gun or whatever, right? You have to prepare for that, and that might mean taking up but after your support weapon slot taken up, you might be taking like 3 reds or something like that because you can't kill them uh, consistently enough for it to matter. Like it's just like you have to consider these ideas when you're throwing. Um, when you're making bets like that against you or yourself with the stratagem with the support weapon. So I think it will not overtake anything on the Illuminate. It has a great chance of overtaking a lot of things on the bugs though, on the basis of the fact that there are uh, medium to heavy pin enemies in the area. And this Melta gun's more than likely going to be anti-tank with a decent sized range. So I'm actually expecting it to do pretty well. Will it completely take over the meta? There's a possibility, but fire is still pretty good, and fire got a buff in the earlier seasons. Uh, it's kind of iffy, but I don't think it's gonna fully take over. But I'm also thinking like there's a lot of people that probably don't care about the legendary Warbond because everything else they've screwed up. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Somebody's gonna try it out though. I certainly would if I don't have the thing, but when it comes out. Okay, so that's the trailer. Like I said before, it's very iffy. At the end of the day, I'm a little worried about what they're doing. I heard something about from Thornton that they might be adding a customization for the legendary Warbond. So maybe when this comes out, because there are different variants of each weapon that you see inside the Warbond, there's a possibility that we might see some customization added to those. There's talk about it anyway, as well as like sidearms that supposedly have like customization as well. So there's a possibility we might get that. There's also a possibility we don't. We'll see. Regardless, that's it for me today. Hit the follow button, hit the notification bell. If you're on Rumble, hit the subscription button, hit the notification bell if you're on YouTube. Consider becoming a coffee member inside the description. Link to the original video will be placed up top of the description. And I hope to see you guys in the next video. See you later.